Chapter 1. Hannah took off her gloves and stuffed them in her pockets. The cold wind was stinging her cheeks, and she looked up at the sky hopefully. Would it snow soon? It was only November, but it was so cold already. She reached into the tub of bird food and scooped out a big helping, scattering it over the bird table. Then she smiled to herself. She was sure she could hear some sparrows and chickadees in the winter jasmine that was growing up the fence. They were scuffling around eagerly, waiting for her to go so that they could swoop in on the delicious mealworms that were their favorite part of the mixture. She closed the tub and put on her gloves again. It was so cold her fingers had already started to hurt. Then she crept quietly back to the garden bench and curled up in the corner. If she was very, very quiet and still, the birds might come while she was there. It would be warmer to go inside and watch from her bedroom window, but she loved seeing the birds up close. They were so funny, the way they squabbled and shoved each other off the bird feeders. Hannah's family had 5 different bird feeders, and the yard was very popular with the local birds. Hannah watched, snuggled inside her big scarf and furry hat, smiling to herself as a robin bossily sent all the other birds flapping off into the bushes. She wasn't going to be able to stay out here much longer. She could hardly feel her fingers. Hugging herself, she slipped into her favorite daydream, that she was cuddled up with the dog next to her, keeping her warm. Also, almost any dog would do, to be honest. She would really love a big dog that she could hug, but even a little dog would be wonderful. Of course, since this was a daydream, she might as well have her all-time favorite. Daydream Hannah sat there with her arms around her huge black and white spotted Dalmatian, just like Ponga from her favorite movie, 101 Dalmatians. Hannah had watched both the cartoon and live-action versions over and over, and Dalmatians were her dream dogs. Hannah's mom and dad had been thinking about getting a dog for a long time. At least they always said, "We'll think about it," whenever Hannah asked. Her dad was for getting one. He loved going on long walks, and he'd shown her pictures of the dog he'd had when he was a boy. But Hannah's mom was a little anxious about Zach, Hannah's younger brother. She was worried that a dog wasn't a good idea with a toddler around. But Zach was almost 3 now, and Hannah had started dropping hints about dogs again. She didn't think a dog would be a problem for Zach at all. He loved animals as much as Hannah did, and whenever he met a dog, he always wanted to hug it. It was more likely that the dog would need protecting from Zach than the other way around. Just as she was thinking about her little brother, Hannah heard the kitchen door bang, and he stumbled out into the yard, calling her name. Hannah gave an annoyed sigh as Jack frightened all the birds away. She'd been enjoying the peaceful moment without him around. But as he wobbled around the corner of the house, she couldn't help smiling. Zach was wearing his big red snowsuit, and it was so stiff and padded that he could hardly move. He looked as though someone had inflated him like a balloon. "Hannah, Hannah," he came over and grabbed her hand. "Mommy wants you." Hannah's mom was coming out now, too, a big scarf wrapped around her neck. "You must be frozen sitting out here for so long. Did you see any interesting birds?" Hannah shook her head. "Only the normal ones. I was about to come in since it's getting dark." Mom was beaming. "We came out to tell you some news. I just got a phone call, one I wasn't expecting." She took a deep breath. It was from the lady who runs Dashing Dalmatians. Hannah sat bolt upright, staring wide-eyed at her mom. Is that a Dalmatian breeder?" she asked. "Why did she call you?" Her mom smiled even more widely. "Because I called her a few weeks ago to ask if we could get on the list for a puppy from the next litter." Hannah sprang off the bench and threw her arms around her mom. "Really? You didn't tell me. We're going to get a Dalmatian puppy? You mean it?" Mom nodded. "Let's go and talk about this inside. I'm freezing." Hannah raced into the house, tugging off her coat and scarf, and then unzipped Zach from his suit. She ran to put her things away, then skidded back into the kitchen. "Please tell me more." Her mom laughed. "I should agree to getting a puppy more often. Yes, your dad and I decided that maybe you and Zach were old enough now for us to have a dog. Your dad wanted a big dog, and you were so desperate for a Dalmatian, so we found this woman. She's named Lisa. On the internet. She lives about 20 miles away, close to Mill Green. Hannah nodded. Mill Green was a small town she'd visited on a school trip to see the working watermill. She breeds Dalmatians, only 2 or 3 litters a year, so we thought we might have to wait a long time for a puppy, but it turns out that someone who'd put her name down for one from the latest litter has changed her mind. Her mom frowned. Something about not quite the right markings. Lisa said she'd explain it all when we went to see the puppy. She said it shouldn't matter at all since we told her we weren't looking for a show dog. When can we go see the puppy? Hannah gasped. She hardly knew what to say. She felt so excited. How about tomorrow? Her mom said. Oh, Hannah, don't squash me. She laughed as Hannah flung her arms around her waist. So you're happy then? You haven't changed your mind about Dalmatians? Of course not, Hannah cried. They're the best dogs ever. We're really going to see some tomorrow? Absolutely. It had to be a Saturday so your dad can come too. Mom smiled. He's going to get a big surprise when he gets home. Hannah's dad was just as excited as she was about the puppy. Mom told him all about the phone call over dinner. That's just such good news, he said. I thought we'd have to wait a long time. We wanted to make sure you got a puppy from a good breeder, you see, Hannah. Dalmatians can tend to be nervous and excitable, and you have to be careful to meet the parent dogs and that kind of thing. Mom said the woman from Dashing Dalmatians was very nice when she called her. She gave her all sorts of test results and told her a lot about the breed. Then he frowned and glanced over at Hannah's mom. I just remembered. Didn't we say we were going to try to avoid getting a puppy around Christmas? Hannah's mom nodded slowly. Oh goodness, I'd forgotten that. I just didn't think. She paused for a moment. Lisa said that the puppies are 6 weeks old now, and we could take our puppy home at about 8 weeks, so that would be the first week of December. Oh, that is getting close to Christmas. Why can't we get a puppy before Christmas? Hannah asked, her voice starting to squeak with panic. They couldn't change their minds now. Her dad rubbed her shoulder. It's just that Mom and I said that we wouldn't ever get a dog as a Christmas present. So many puppies end up at shelters after Christmas, and it's a very stressful time for a dog, with so many people around and the house all turned upside down. But you aren't getting us a dog for Christmas, Hannah pointed out quickly, her heart thudding with hope. The puppy just happens to be coming close to Christmas, that's all. It doesn't mean that the puppy is a Christmas present. She dug her fingers into her hands, looking anxiously from Mom to Dad. Then she wondered if she had sounded greedy, and added, But I don't want anything else for Christmas. It's okay. Just maybe a dog leash? Dad laughed. Don't worry, I'm not saying we can't get a puppy. I was just wondering if now was the best time. But to be honest, I'm sure getting a puppy is a big upheaval whenever you do it. So, can we still go tomorrow? Hannah whispered. Her mom and dad exchanged a look and smiled. Yes, Mom told her. We'll go. May I please be excused? Hannah rattled off. I don't want any dessert, thanks. I'm going to go and look up Dalmatians on the computer.